Welcome back to another episode of the South by East podcast where we discuss culture, scriptures, music, and everything in between. Braille, where are we at today?
Man, this clip is a heater. I'll be forgetting who shared what. But all I know is that it's now etched on my soul.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful clip here where this young man is talking about oversharing, and he doesn't just speak about vulnerability being a weakness or about but he speaks about oversharing and having the discretion to know what spaces you can share what. And I think this is just such a good word, man. So let's jump into it.
You know, it gets a little tricky when you're talking to people. Don't be tempted to overshare. Not everyone's capable, not everyone's qualified to experience or steward your vulnerability. Very important. There's some people that are not really good for you. They don't have what's best for you. And because sometimes it does get lonely and you just want to be heard, you end up oversharing to someone who's going to use your words against you. If it's going to be the people you're doing life with, you got to make sure the people you're rocking with, they cover you. If they talk to you about other people, more than likely they're going to talk about you one day. So be very careful.
Same dog that'll bring a bone, take a bone.
Yeah, man.
That's how I always thought that. Same dog that'll bring a bone will take a bone.
Man, I love the way that he positioned one of those pieces. He says, some people are not qualified to steward your vulnerability. I love that approach, of that way of looking at that. It doesn't boil down to like, is this person trustworthy? Because when I talk about trust, I always talk about trust on the spectrum. I'm like, I trust you as much as you've taught me I can trust you. and that level of trust may exist in different spaces in different ways. I'm
just laughing because, the night before we filmed this, I had a presentation and I was introducing Scent to a group of people, and there was somebody there. There was just a few people there that I knew. Majority of people I had never met before in the room. And one person was like, tell me all of who gives you money. And I was like, I'm not going to share that with you.
It's a no from me.
It's a no from me. My wife's name is Trisha. My kids are Claudette, Silas, and Tobias. I'm like, maybe we should get to some of that before you start asking.
Right. Who gives me money?
Who gives me money? And it was just like, and I told him, I said, hey, I believe in transparency when it's needed and when it's applicable. But I said, when there's something that goes beyond that threshold, I will let you know also. And this is one of those times. I said that in the room. And because I was like, this is not me trying to be jaded or not share or trying to be shrouded.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not appropriate.
That's not appropriate.
That's not appropriate.
That's not appropriate.
And it's like, and there's certain levels of different things, of details that I'll share in different spaces, man, because of the appropriateness of it. And so it's, I even, like, there's some things, like, I'll share online and some things I won't, right? We have different, like, text messages, like, groups or whatever else, like, and how things get shared, man. And it's just like, well, is this appropriate or not? Does this person, I'm big on this, like, does this person needs to know this? Well, no, they don't really need to be in this deal. I'm really big on that, man, of this person don't need to know that, so I'm not going to share this in this space. They don't need that data. They don't need that information.
Yeah, and I think this is good, man, because me, I'm pretty open about myself and what I do, and I used to be, man, I'm an open book. When I used to open book, and I write songs about everything and anything, and I've learned that's not always appropriate. Like, there's some songs that I've written, I think they're fire. They've never come out because they're about some things that after my wife and I talked, she was like, I really don't want this shared. And I was like, I understand that. And you put an unnecessary, when you are not doing the due diligence to know who you are around and what they're equipped to handle, you actually put an unnecessary burden on the people that you're sharing with as well. Because I may be asking you to hold something to a level of confidence that you don't understand, nor are you prepared to do. And that's part of what I love about what he said is like, hey, you got to be careful who you share with. He didn't say there's snakes that are looking for it. Those people do exist, but he's like, the responsibility isn't on them. The responsibility is on you to know who you're around and determine what is appropriate to share.
Like, man, you know where I'm at with some stuff. Here's the deal. I've kind of talked before about a person named Kev on stage. That we like a comedian, right? And I listen to this podcast, different things of that nature. I don't agree with everything they say. Like some of the stuff they have gone too far for me. And but when he talks about the struggle of like, man, I need to make a move that's healthy for me, but I'm worried about what people say, different things of that nature. I totally feel that. And man, with my social media even, there was times where I'm like, I don't know if this person has the best intention for me. Or sometimes it's like, I don't even think this person has ill will toward me. But even the things that I share on my social media, I don't know if this person is screenshotting stuff and using it against me or what, but it creates a certain amount of anxiety. And before I would just figure the answer was fighting the anxiety all the time. Now, my solution is just blocking the person so they can't see any of my stuff.
They can't see the stuff. Right.
And you know what? That anxiety goes away. And I'm like, you know what? Look, social media is not real life.
No.
And I haven't cut off access to me through other means in real life ways, face-to-face ways, and be around people, different things of that nature. That is still there. That is still applicable. And I do get to determine, even as being a leader, I get to determine what parts of my life I want to share.
Yeah.
And what parts are healthy. And I don't feel this mandate. And so that's one of those deals of just a growth and saying, like, this is what's going to allow me to be the healthiest.
And I think it's important for people to understand that type of discernment, we often talk about discernment being a gift, and it is, but discernment is also a skill. Discernment is also a skill, and skills take time and practice. Like, you have to, it has to start with an awareness, too, because I think all of us have been in spaces where we have shared things that, I wish I hadn't told that person that came back to bite me, or this came back, or where you shared how you felt, or at least I know I've been in play where I've shared how I felt, and I'm like, the next day I felt different. And now I burden that other person with this weight where now I've processed it. They weren't in the process. They weren't in the process. So it's like, man, that wasn't really wise to share. And so it starts with this awareness of understanding where you're at and understanding where you've been and what spaces you're in and giving some intentionality to what you share. And the other piece that he spoke on that I think is important to notice too is like why sometimes people overshare. He said, sometimes you get lonely and you just want to feel heard.
Oh, Lord.
And that is a real thing. And that's why community is also so important. You do have to have some spaces. There's some things that you might just have to hold for a while. And you shouldn't have to hold everything. Like there should be some spaces in your life where you're able to go with some things that you've at least had some minimal amount of processing with and be able to work through some of those things in a way that's beneficial and healthy.
Medium and audience.
Yeah, speak to that.
So,
speak to that.
Part of maturing is knowing the right medium to communicate the message so that it's most effective, whether it's face-to-face or email or phone call, or social media, whatever it is. And then the audience for it to be most effective. Who should I be communicating this to? Who should I? So there's times, bro, on Sunday mornings we do a run-through. And during our run-through before service, we actually preach the full message. And you will testify this, those on the worship team will testify this, that often I'll share something in run-through that by the time we do service, like with people there, I won't include pieces because I would have processed some more and said, you know what? I don't think when this is being recorded and with the audience that's here, I don't think that's an appropriate share. So I'm not going to share that. And yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, I got it. No, I'm gonna change that. There's a different thing that could be used. That's not appropriate, right?
Right.
And so it's having that that space and knowing and going through medium and audience, because the I want to be effective in my communications, and so I have to be examining that.
And I think part of that, because there may be some people watching who are like, I've never thought about this before at all. What does that mean? I think it's important to part of it's communication. Like, how will it be received? What I'm giving be received? And part of it is what will this person do with this information? And what will this person be tempted to do with this information? And so there's also a piece of when we overshare, we're thinking about us. Like, if we're real, it's like, if I'm real, when I'm oversharing, I'm like, I just want to get this out. I want to get this off of me. And it's like, it's taking a step back and going like, wait, let me think about this person for a second and how this is going to hit them and what position this puts them in.
And how is this going to make other people who hear this feel? Like, and that's some of, I can be at a presentation, and here's the deal is I feel like sometimes I'm giving a presentation like I was the night before we recorded this, where people try to bait me into saying negative things about our city government or other organizations or different things of that nature. And I always try to speak in the highest esteem toward them. Even, like in the situation last night, somebody was like really cynical during the presentation, and I wanted to validate their ability to give their thoughts in that space, even though I might have disagreed with them. And I felt like that was important. Like, yes, this is the space where you can dissent, and I don't expect everyone to agree with me. And we are better when we push back against one another and we hear things that we don't want to hear, and it sharpens us. And I hope that you heard that in a light where we should respect those who disagree with us, honor and support their disagreement with us, and I hope that you hear my pushback in the same light of you are valuable to this space and this community, and your words are valid, and the way you feel is valid. Not necessarily that I count it as being true, but you are really feeling that.
Yeah.
And so being able to do that and being able to honor other organizations and always trying to find the most graceful way to honor that organization that's not in the room as I would want them to do with me, right? And I've had to get better at that, because there's times when I definitely didn't think I tore down another organization or whatever else, but someone carried a word out in that way, and I'm like, man, that's not the light that I meant that in, and so I'm a lot more cautionary.
Because communication is for communication. It's not what I said and how I said it. It's how it was received.
Yep.
And so, and if my goal is to communicate, then the reception has to be what I measure it against. Not how well I think I produced the communication, but how the communication was received. I was just in a chat earlier with some people in a team that I lead, and I was sending some reminders out about some things, and somebody was like, hey, I thought that this was the case, and I was like, no, I thought I communicated that it wasn't, and da-da-da-da, and then someone else was like, I also thought that was the case. I'm like, well, clearly. I was like, we as leaders are CROs. This is a teaching moment. We as leaders are CROs, we're Chief Reminding Officers. Sometimes the reminder is for the clarity of the team, and sometimes the feedback you get tells you that the reminder was actually for that you were not clear. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, received. Okay, do we have clarity now? Yeah, we do. Man, thank you. I appreciate that. And so it's, man, communication It's for communication. So that's important to remember. Man, but how about y'all? How do y'all feel about that? Where's that hit for you with that line between vulnerability and oversharing? Have you had a time where you've been like, man, I really wish that I would have pulled back? And what have you learned from that? Man, we'd love to hear about it in the comment sections, especially on Facebook where we're building our biggest community, but also there on YouTube. Continue to comment, like, subscribe, follow us on your favorite podcast spot, wherever you get those, and we'll see you next week
in the intersection.